Rod, welcome to the show.
Oh, I'm glad to be here, my friend. I'm looking forward to having some fun with you today, brother.
Rod, I think you win the best background for the show so far. Can you tell us about where you're at?
Yeah, that's actually my backyard. So I'm in Sarasota, Florida, and I've got this compound here, 6 buildings and giant main house, and I've got a beautiful 2-bedroom guest house on the water and exercise building and a theater room and a video studio. So I've got a lot of fun stuff here and all my toys. So living large, loving life, brother.
That's one of our favorite places. We love Longboat Key.
Oh, yeah. You bet. Gorgeous.
Yes.
That's the real money up there. Real money up there in Longboat.
Yeah, that's one of our favorites for sure.
Yeah.
We love St. Armand's Circle, one of our favorite absolute places.
Yeah, restaurants and shops there are fantastic. It's if you're ever listening, you ever come to Sarasota, come to check out St. Armand's. You'll love it.
Absolutely. So very happy to have you today, Rod. We want you just to please our listeners with your story here and just get right into it, if you don't mind.
No, my pleasure. So let's see. I immigrated this country when I was 6 years old, 1966, with my brother Albert and my mother Svancha. We ended up in Denver, Colorado, where I lived for 30 years. And we didn't have much. I wore clothes from the Goodwill and the Salvation Army all the way through junior high school till I could get a job and buy my own clothes. I lied about my age and flipped burgers at Burger King when I was 14. And, we struggled. We ate expired food. I remember we bought expired food and we drank powdered milk because my mom thought milk was healthy at the time. And now let me say this. I'm sure there are people listening to you, Nick, that haven't had it harder than we did or have it harder now with all this COVID crap going on. But I knew I wanted more. And my mom was a bit of an entrepreneur. And so she babysat kids so we'd have enough money to eat and have a decent life. And with her babysitting money, she invested in the stock market and made money. But she also bought the house across the street from us when I was 14 for about $30,000. And when I was 17, she told me she'd made $20,000 in her sleep, that it had gone up in value 20 grand. I'm like, screw college. I'm getting into real estate. And so I got into real estate, and my first year I maybe made about $8 grand. My second year, maybe 10 grand. But my third year, I made over $100,000. When I was 21, that was some serious change. And so one of the things I like to talk about is what happened to cause me to 10x my income between year 2 and year 3. And what it was mindset. I met a guy that taught me about mindset and psychology and how truly 80 to 90% of your success in anything is that. It's your mindset. The vehicle, as it were, if it's entrepreneurship, a business, real estate, or whatever it is a small percentage of it. You've got to take action with what you learn. And so, fast forward to today, I've owned over 2,000 houses. I've rented long-term, multiple apartment complexes. I've built 24 businesses. Several have been worth tens of millions of dollars. The rest have been spectacular failures, which I call seminars. But, I've forgotten more about starting a business than you can imagine. But it was all mindset that kept me going. And so in 2006, I had 800 houses. I had multiple apartment complexes. I owned another business, and my net worth went up $17 million that year while I slept. Wow. A little more than my mom's 20,000. And I thought I was a freaking real estate god. Okay. I thought I could do no wrong. My head got so big, I could barely fit it through a double door. And when that happens, God or the universe or whatever you believe will give you a smackdown. Well, that was 2008 for me. I lost that 17 million, a whole lot more. I lost $50 million in 2008. And one of the things I really enjoy talking about is the mindset it took to have 50 million to lose in the first place. And then the mindset it took to get back to the success that I enjoy today. And one of the things that I do, I started a podcast like you have here 3 years ago. And I do coaching now, and I teach people how to buy apartment buildings. And I love it. I mean, I've got hundreds of students. I do sold out live events around the country, or I used to do sold out live events around the country. Now I do them in my video studio. I was on track to have 700 people in Orlando in May, and we all know what happened there. So I actually had 900 people show up on live stream, and I just did one in July here. There were 700 plus, but I love that. I love that about what I do. I love the teaching. I never thought I would. And you know, it's funny, when I started my podcast, I used to tell people, I'll never sell you anything. I just want to add value to you. Now I'm a liar because I sell coaching and stuff, but I never planned to. You know, you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. But anyway, so one of the things I enjoy teaching when I'm teaching is this strategy around getting what you want. And, you know, it would have been real easy for me when I lost $50 million just to give up. I mean, you know, people jumped out of buildings for losing the, you know, money equal to that in the Great Depression. And so, you know, if you'd like, I'm happy to drill down on that a little bit on some of the strategies that I used, like I said, to have 50 million to lose in the first place. And then the strategies I used to recover from losing all that. You want me to drill down on that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we talk a lot about, you know, my favorite book, Think and Grow Rich. Talk a lot about, you know, mindset. I think one of my favorite mentors has been Bob Proctor. And, you know, I'm super excited to kind of hear where, you know, for you to talk about the mindset and get more into it. I think that really has been, I went from delivering pizzas, and then I just started really picking up Think and Grow Rich. And before you know it, you know, a few short years later, I was building a multi-million-dollar business, and it was all mindset. I mean, I literally had nothing, but I never felt like I had nothing. So yeah,
right.
Go right at it, Rod.
I've literally, not exaggerating, I've given away over 3,000 copies of Think and Grow Rich, 3,000, because every one of my live events gets one. Okay, so we're kindred brothers in that regard, my friend. In fact, I've got a definiteness of purpose statement right there on the wall. You can see right there in my office here with Napoleon Hill says you have to have a definiteness of purpose. And that means you know, you're not a generalist, you're a specialist, and you pick what you're going to go after. And, you know, and that book has so many incredible strategies. And it's the kind of book you don't read once. You literally need to read it every year. But what I teach at my events is this kind of goal setting process. And I know if you're listening to Nick here that you do your goals, but this process is deeper than that. It's like goal setting on steroids. So if you're listening, grab a pen and a piece of paper if you can, and take a couple of quick notes. It won't take but a minute, but you know, I spend about an hour and a half doing this at my live events, but you know, I can describe it in about 10 minutes. So what you want to do is you want to pick an hour when you have a lot of energy. Okay. So make sure you're well hydrated. As I get a drink of water. Don't do it right after you have a meal, but sit down and write down everything you could ever possibly want in life. All the stuff, the houses, the cars, the boats, the jet skis, the planes, write it down. And I'm going to tell you, take the lid off your brain. Imagine if you write it down, you're going to get it, which is not outside the realm of reality. Okay. You know, what it does when you write down your goals is it triggers something in your brain called your reticular activating system. And that's that subconscious filter that your brain subconsciously directs you in the direction of what it thinks you're interested in. And it's all subconscious. You're not consciously aware of it. The greatest example of it is when you first buy a car, you never really notice them. When you buy the car, you see them everywhere. Were they there before? Of course they were. I mean, that's your reticular activating system. And just the simple act of writing down the goals triggers that, and then reassociating with your goals regularly. But you want to write down all the stuff, and then write down how much money you want to make from your business in cash flow in, say, 3 years, and then in 10 years. Write down how much money you want in the bank in, say, 3 years and 10 years. But again, if you want a private island, a jet, a yacht, write it down. It's just a decision and massive action. There's truly nothing you cannot do, be, or have, but you got to decide. Okay, that's number one. Then also write down all the things you want to do. Like maybe you want to, you know, learn, you want to travel somewhere specific or some different places. Maybe you want to jump out of a perfectly good airplane. I did that about 8 months ago. I'll never freaking do it again, but it's done. It's off the list. You know, maybe you want to climb every mountain over 14,000 feet, whatever it is, write it down. But Then also write down what you want to learn. Right, maybe you want to learn a foreign language. Maybe maybe you when you're talking about things you want to do, maybe you want to write a book like Nick did. That makes a big difference. I wrote a book too, gave away 20,000 copies of it, and that really helped put me on the map. But so write down what you want to learn. Foreign language, a skill. If you want to learn multifamily real estate investing, come see me. I'll tell you how to do that in a minute, and it's real cheap. But whatever it is, write that down. Then write down who you want to help, because we'll do more for others than we'll ever do for ourselves. And you want to tap into that. Okay. So, maybe you want to do something for a family member. I bought my parents a house, bought them a car, took them on cruises. Who do you want to do something for? So write that down. And then once you can't think of another thing, the next step is you got to put a time limit on each goal. So you want to put how many years it's going to take you to achieve each one of those goals. So put a 1, a 3, a 5, even a 10 or a 20, recognizing that as human beings, we will overestimate what we can do in a year and massively underestimate what we can do in 5, 10, 20 years. I'll give you an example of this. Now, let me pre-frame this by saying this is not me bragging, okay? I'm going to give you some examples, hopefully to inspire you. It's the only reason I'm using them, okay? But back when I lived in Denver, I knew I wanted to live on the beach, and there's no beach in Denver. Okay. So I would visualize palm trees and beach and surf and waves and of course bikinis. I'm a guy, but so I would visualize that. And what's crazy is 20 years later, I built this mansion on the beach. It's $8 million, 10,000 square foot. I had the beach on one side. I had, covered boat houses on the backside. It was a slice through this island called the Gulf to Bay, which was unthinkable when I was 18. But I decided it and I made it happen. So take the lid off your brain and write down however big it is. Don't limit yourself. Then once you've got a time limit by each goal, pick your number one goal. I mean, that goal that's almost unbelievable. You're like, when you get it, you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. That goal. Put it on a separate sheet of paper. Then I want you to pick your top 3 one-year goals. Put those on a separate sheet of paper. So you've got 4 goals on a separate sheet of paper, and leave some room in between them. Now, at this point, you are ahead of 99.9% of the people on the planet that do a New Year's resolution and forget about it by February. So, pat yourself on the back, but there's a couple more really important steps. And the first one is the goals are important. They will juice you. But once you achieve them, it's like, what's next? And so you've got to always have other goals queued up behind them. But it's the why that's the real driver. Why those goals are an absolute must. So you need to write down a paragraph for each goal, why it's an absolute freaking must for you to achieve it, not a should, okay? So you might put, so I can show my kids what success looks like. So I can show my husband or wife what it means to be successful, maybe retire them. So I can, we can live the life of our dreams and have freedom to do whatever we want, go wherever we want, go whenever we want, bring whoever we want, whatever it is, write it down for you and use emotionally charged words. Words are very powerful and you want to use them. So you use words like beautiful and incredible and amazing because you want to use that emotion. And then once you've got a positive reason why each one of those goals is a must, you got to put some pain in there. And so if you don't achieve the goal, and make it freaking painful, here's why. Because as human beings, we will do more to avoid pain than gain pleasure. So you want to use this. You want to put stuff like, so I don't feel like a failure. So I don't fail my kids. I don't fail my wife or husband. So I don't, live a life of regret. So use this pain to keep and this is the fuel, guys. This is what gets you out of bed early, keeps you up late at night, whatever you have to do to build this side hustle. And I've got this sign on my wall here. It says, focus, grind now, play later, and comfort kills. That's a Grant Cardonism. But you want to use this fuel, and that why is the fuel, positive and negative. And the negative is really important. There was this nurse in Australia named Bronnie Ware. And she was a hospice nurse. So she took care of patients at the end of their lives. And she asked them a question. And the question was, do you have any regrets? And she even wrote a book about it. It's called The 5 Regrets of Dying. You want to know what the number one regret was, Nick? It was not living the life I could have lived. It was living someone else's life. It was not doing what I was capable of. Screw that, guys. Okay. So this is why you need this fuel. And this is how, again, this is reassociating with my goals is how I got out of losing 50 million bucks back to what I have today. And the last piece is you got to get pictures so you can manifest these things into your life. I'll give you some public examples that are pretty well known. One of them is Jim Carrey. If you Google Jim Carrey check, you'll see that when he was flat broke, he wrote himself a check for 10 million bucks. And in the remittance, the little memo he put for services rendered with a little smiley face. And what's crazy, he'd go up by the Hollywood sign while he was broke and visualize, he pulled his check out and visualized cashing it. And that's how much money he made for Dumb and Dumber. Another great recent example is Demi Lovato. When she was nobody 10 years ago, she posted on social media, I'm going to sing in the Super Bowl. Go watch the last Super Bowl and see who sang in it. So guys, you can manifest this stuff into your life. When I was 18, I'll give you some personal examples. I got my real estate broker's license. I thought I was going to be rich selling other people's houses. So I bought a 4-door car. Okay. I bought this bone ugly Ford Granada. Ugliest piece of crap you ever saw. Bench seat in the front. But I figured I had to have a 4-door so I could show people houses, right? Well, I drove a friend's Corvette and I was like, holy shit, this is amazing. So I got a picture out of a magazine of a Corvette. This is before you could spell internet. No, internet hadn't even been thought of. And I got a picture out of a magazine of a Corvette and I taped it on the visor of that 4-door bone ugly Granada. And within a year, I had a beautiful red Corvette. I'll give you a couple more examples. Again, this is not me bragging. Please know this. I just hopefully to inspire you. This is back when the TV show Magnum PI was out. And the actor's name was Tom Selleck. And it was a detective story, I think in Hawaii. And he drove this gorgeous red Ferrari 308. And I thought that was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. So I got a picture of that actual car and put it on the visor of my Corvette. So every time I got in the Corvette, I could see that Ferrari. And within a year or two, I bought a Maserati, looked just like it. Last example, car example, is I'm the guy that always wanted a Lamborghini. I had posters in my bedroom growing up, and it was a Lamborghini Countach back then. And what's crazy is my son collected models of exotic cars, and he had a model of the exact same color and style Lamborghini that I ended up buying, which I ultimately wrecked. But anyway, guys, get pictures of your goals because they freaking work. I mean, I've got my planner here. It's a paper planner. In the back of this thing, I've got pictures that have been in here for 20 years. They're in plastic. And the first pictures are my gratitude pictures. They're my kids when they were very young. And because everything starts from a place of gratitude, it's foundational emotion that you use to get anything you want in life. And I know you like Bob Proctor, Nick, and he talks about this as well. And this you manifest through gratitude. And then I've got pictures of the things that I wanted. Like this top picture looks just like that house on the beach. I had travertine floors like this, and I had 10-foot high glass that was butt together like that, exactly like that picture. Now, what's really crazy is I was telling you, I live in a compound now, and it's I told you it's 6 buildings. It's like a park, and it's really cool. Look at the pictures in the bottom there. See the white walls in both of those pictures, behind the white walls? This is my backyard. Look at that white wall. Is that freaking nuts? That's 20 years ago, okay, that I had these. And then I've got, stupid shit that I thought was important. Like I've got a few $100,000 worth of watches and the Lamborghini before I ever got it. The Rolls Royce, the Bentley, all this stuff that I thought was important that I got because I had pictures. So guys, those of you that are analytical going, okay, this is too foofy for me. Big mistake. Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox, but that's a process that helped me get through crawling out from underneath a rock in 2008 and 9 to get my ass in gear and make it happen again. So hopefully that added a little value.
Yeah, well, I think everything you talked about there, I'm sitting back here smiling because we moved into a new home in June. One of those places that growing up as a kid, I was like, one day I'm going to live in that neighborhood. And, when we moved, you open up all kinds of different boxes. And I opened up a box from about 9-10 years ago, and it had exactly what you're saying there. It had all my goals on there. And, and reasons why, not just the goals, but the reasons why those goals were important to me, and the numbers, the 1, the 3, the 5. And my son is 18, and we were unpacking the box, and I handed it over to him, and he starts reading it, and it just was so cool because there were certain things on there, like, we had never been to a Steeler game at that time. Like, I couldn't even afford a ticket, and he's reading it. It says, like, take my son to his first Steeler game, and he's like, Dad, I don't even remember my first Steeler game because we go to every single game. And I'm like, yeah, like that's, and keep reading. And he's reading, and he's like, wow, this is just like, it was unbelievable. The stuff that
sounds like John Asseroff in The Secret when he had his kid and he had a picture of a house that looked just like the house they lived in. That's so cool. I had John on my podcast. That's so cool. I don't know if you ever saw the movie The Secret. If you haven't, you guys should watch it with your kids. It's a fantastic movie about the law of attraction and manifesting. I love it, man. Love it.
Yep. And that movie, I don't know how many times I've watched it, like literally.
Oh, no kidding.
And I actually, when COVID happened this year, I went back to my roots. I reread Think and Grow Rich. I rewatched The Secret. When my kid asked me, like, when he needs money for this or that, I tell him, he knows I'm going to hand him either a book or tell him to go watch The Secret. So it's like, it was exactly like that scene, and I think when I have this list of 40 different things on there and, 90% of them were things that came true, it's just unbelievable. And I think sometimes people hear this kind of thing and they do think it's foo-foo or whatever you want to say about it, but it's so damn true. Like,
not the wealthy ones. Not the wealthy ones. I'll just tell you right now. And that's not ego talking there, guys. That's just to hopefully spur you, because it's so true. I mean, this stuff freaking works. That's you started talking about when COVID hit. Let me talk about that for a second, because a lot of people are freaking out right now. And guys, right now the world needs leaders. And if you're listening to Nick here, you're a leader. And maybe you just lead your family, but maybe you lead a team at work or your business or whatever. And it's so critical for you to manage your focus right now. And maybe you have to innovate or pivot. I had to innovate. I mean, hell, I didn't know what the hell I was going to do when, the source of my income on my thought leadership platform was these live events that I did, and I couldn't do them anymore. And so, you go to I have a website for my teaching multifamily. It's Multifamily Virtual Bootcamp, but we put that website up in 2 days. And the video is me in my backyard shooting the damn video, because sometimes you got to innovate and pivot. So look in the mirror and see if you have to do that. And I love the fact, Nick, that you kind of got reassociated with that important stuff, the Secret, Think and Grow Rich, these foundational things that are more important than any technical knowledge. But the other thing is stand guard at the door to your mind. There's so much crap out there. I mean, don't get me started on CNN or NBC, ABC. Don't get caught in the news, because it's all negative. The news isn't there to inform us. It's there to scare the shit out of us. So don't get caught up in that. Bring in the good stuff. I do a clip every week on my podcast called Own Your Power. It's 5 minutes. Even if you don't want to do real estate, you'll get value from it. My podcast is called Lifetime Cash Flow. I hope you'll check it out. Bring in on YouTube, there's tons of motivational content. That's the kind of stuff you want to be bringing in, because that's going to inspire you to take action on your dreams. So thank you for triggering that thought process with me, Nick. Love that.
Yeah, no worries. Another thing that I always find that has really helped me is, becoming self-aware. And when you hear yourself, negative thoughts come in, having a affirmation to kind of to beat that down right away. Something kind of leaks in. I'm like, no, like I live a life of abundance, and I speak that over and over. And and speaking about gratitude, like every morning I go through like all the things I'm grateful for, because it kind of fuels the day. And, if for some reason I miss that, I'll look back at the day and be like, well, no wonder I had a shitty morning. I didn't go through my gratitude. I just got up and rushed my day. Like, and just being able to have those things set up, like they're almost like nothing happens overnight, right? You got to put it into place and have functions.
You have to have belief. You have to have belief.
Yes. And beliefs.
Yes.
And I always say too, like, on the road to entrepreneurship, there's a point where you feel like you get stuck. You've reached all your goals and you're like, well, why am I stuck? What do I do next? And I always say, if you're stuck, your goals are not big enough.
Let me share. I got to share.
Yep.
I got to hammer a couple things home you just said. Okay. Number one, on my wall, you can see I am statements. I am success. I'm a business genius. I'm the best in the world at what I do. I am health and energy. I am focus. I'm determination. I'm courage. Anything you put the words I am in front of is an identity statement. I've screamed these things out at the top of my lungs. And there's no greater force in the human psyche than the need to remain consistent with how we identify ourselves. I am. And so, you know, that's not ego. That is me hoping to embody these things that I'm saying. I am success. I'm the world's greatest husband. I am. And so I've yelled these things top of my lungs. I have one on my wall. God's wealth flows through me in avalanches of abundance. You know, I've got that. And I've said that 1,000 times. Thousands of times and loud with all my energy, because it gets into the fiber of your being. You know, my kids, at my live events, my kids work my live events, and people always come up to them and they're like, does he really do that shit? They're like, yeah, we grew up with that stuff. But that's, you know, that's why that's it. But let me share something else. You said when you hit a plateau in business, that reminded me of something as it relates to goals. So I was telling you about that house that I built on the beach. I mean, this house was magnificent. Giant waterfall from the second floor balcony into the pool lit up at night. I mean, the pool was in magazines. It was spectacular. You know, it had a spiral staircase up through the middle. And on the second floor, there were aquariums that I had custom built around the staircase. I mean, those cost me almost 200 grand. So that gives you an idea of the house. Well, 2 months after I built it, after I moved in, it's at night and I'm floating in my pool and I'm looking up at this testament to my ego, which is really what it was. It was to prove the world I was good enough. And I'm looking up at this thing and I got really depressed. And I've worked for this thing for 20 freaking years. And 2 months after I moved in, I'm bummed out. And I mean, really bummed out. And I'm like, what the flip is going on here? I've just achieved success like times 1,000 and I'm bummed. And I mean, I was bummed. And so that year, I got the Dale Carnegie book. I got the Napoleon Hill books. I reassociated just like you did at the start of COVID here, reassociated to get that strength back. And one of them was Tony Robbins' book, Unleash the Power Within. And so I went and saw Tony speak. I really liked this book. I went and saw him speak and I found out that he fed families for the holidays. And I'm like, what a concept. Do something for someone else. I'd been totally focused on me. You know, I was 40 and I finally got the memo. There's more than Rod out there in the world. Okay. And see, I was successful, but I was unfulfilled. But there's two things going on I want to mention. One is you talked about goals. Never achieve a big goal without having other goals lined up behind it, because I'd achieved this massive goal and I'm like, what's next? But the bigger thing was I was unfulfilled. But you know, and it's like the good book says, without a vision, the people perish. You need a vision for the future. That ties into the goals thing. But, you know, so I got inspired by what he does for other people. And I decided, he fed families for the holidays. He's done millions. And I decided to feed 5 families. And I was just blown away about how good I felt about life and about myself. And so, you know, I'm blessed to say in the last 20 years, we fed 85,000 children for the holidays with these baskets of food, toys, and stuff like that. And we've done tens of thousands of backpacks filled with school supplies to local children. And we've done tens of thousands of backpacks to local police departments for officers to put in their vehicles. And the reason I tell you this, again, is not to brag, but is to tell you, is to inspire you that if you want success, I know if you're listening to Nick, you want success or you want more success. And I'm going to tell you, if you're not giving back already, make sure that you do, because you're going to get it much faster. And if you think, yeah, when I have the money, I'll give back, big mistake, because we're not achieving to be happy. You get there much faster if you happily achieve. And you're going to happily achieve if you're fulfilled, not just, you know, and you're adding value. So anyway, I really appreciate you reminding me of that too.
Well, I think that giving is such a big concept, because you're right. There's a certain point where, you know, in the beginning when you're building your business or going at it, you know, maybe a lot of it is about you, but then there's a certain point where it's like, well, okay, I have this money. Like what's the purpose, you know? And I think that's where the giving comes in, and it can be so fulfilling more.
Well, that's
so
why you did your podcast. That's why you did your podcast, brother. You told me that before we started, to give back. I love it, man. I love where your heart's at, man. That's what it's about.
Yeah, I think that's what you have to kind of figure out is, you know, what makes you feel good, you know? Right. Happy can be so many different things. And when you start to figure that out,
you start to learn yourself better, and you start to know yourself better. And I think then you can appreciate yourself. You know, that's part of, you know, happiness is really knowing who you are. And I think that's kind of what you're speaking to.
Well, and you know, and it's like anything. If you want something, give it. If you want happiness, give happiness. Smile at people. You'll get happiness. If you want love, give love. You want money, give money or give of your time, and you'll get money. You know, in tenfold or 100-fold. That's just the way universe or God, whatever you believe, works. So, good stuff, brother.
Yeah, I really think so. I think there's so many things that go into the mindset of an entrepreneur. And I think when you really dig down, and you're right that most successful people really buy into it. Do you think that there's a certain point where whether it's a book or whether it's a mentor on a podcast or somebody you actually met, like, can you have a mentor that's not a person that's your neighbor or not somebody in your same town? Like you talk about.
Sure.
Like,
I mentor
people. Yeah.
Yeah. I mentor 450 students all over the country. I mean, we met on Zoom before it was cool to meet on Zoom. And so, you know, I mean, that's no, I mean, I have tons of students, and, you know, I've had mentors, you know, I've had mentors from books, you know, I've got thousands of books that I've read. I never went to college, and I went to boot camps every year, and I've got this picture of me in front of the Bentley and the Benz with all the lanyards from a lot of the different boot camps. My arms are like this. I literally have like 200 of the lanyards from these boot camps that I've gone to, and you know, talk about education, the importance of education. But, you know, I've learned from mentors all over the country and all over the world, actually. So, you know, yes, I believe you can learn from anyone. You just you have to want to learn. You know, it's like when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. You have to be ready to learn. And I've like, you know, sent people to different events that weren't ready. It was just a waste of my money and their time. That you have to want it. You really have to want it. And that's why that goal setting thing is so freaking important. You got to figure out what it is you want. How are you ever going to get what you want if you don't know what it is? Clearly, with clarity. So.
Right. I think a lot of times when you ask somebody what they want, they say money, but how much money, you know, when do you want it by? Like, what do you want it for?
It's more important is,
right?
Yeah, the last thing you said, that's the most important piece. Is why they want it. It's not the money. It's what the money will buy, or what they think it will buy. And if you really drill down layer after layer, they just want love. Bottom line. But very few people will admit that. Yeah.
I just had another guest on the podcast, and they spoke the same thing. They said when you dig down to the why, you'll go right there to love. That's what it comes down to. So you're the second guest that said that, and I think you're so right. So can you talk about back in 2008 when you lost the 50 million? You had some point where you're just going to give up, right, and be done.
Oh, I hid under a rock for a while. Oh yeah. All you could see was a little freaking eyeball poking out. Yeah, no, I was miserable because I thought I was set for life. I mean, I had 800 houses. I had multiple apartment complexes. I mean, I truly thought I was set for life. And so, you know, but then again, I luckily I was in the Tony environment. I followed Tony Robbins around the planet for 20 years after I met him the first time. And I've incorporated a lot of the mindset stuff that he teaches as well into my messaging, and, you know, because it's so important. And then let me give a shout out to him. I mean, if you haven't seen him, go see him live while he's still speaking, or you're making a huge mistake. But, you know, that's what got me back out, was being around people that were thriving and redirecting my focus. Again, it's real easy to focus when the stuff hits the fan, like it is right now with coronavirus. If you're struggling, if you're really in the soup right now, redirect your freaking focus to what you want. Don't focus on what you don't want. I get people that call me and say they're trying to get out of student loan debt. I'm like, wrong question or wrong statement. Focus on making enough money with the student loan debt's irrelevant. You know, they asked Mother Teresa if she was anti-war. She said, no, I'm pro-peace. You've got to direct your focus to what you want, because whatever you focus on is going to grow and get bigger, positive or negative. So very, very important, especially if you're in the mix, if you're in the you know what right now. It's critical that you direct your focus. You stand guard at the door to your mind. Don't let the crap in. Focus on the good stuff. Surround yourself with people that are making stuff happen, that want more than you want. You know, if you're interested in real estate, get into my big multifamily Facebook group. We're hitting 35,000 people today. We had 6 people more to hit 35,000 today. If you're interested in multifamily, go to multifamilycommunity.com. It's a direct link to that group. If you're interested in seeing me speak, I do these 2-day live events now. They're $97 and I don't sell anything. 2 full days of training. You can go to multifamilyvirtualbootcamp.com. Again, if you're interested in multifamily, if you're not, no problem, but multifamilyvirtualbootcamp.com, or text the word multifamily to 41411 and we'll send you the information. Again, it's $97 for 2 full days of training. It's a duh if you're interested in multifamily. It's drinking through a fire hose, I will say that, but I love what it is that I'm doing, and I think it'll come out, and you'll see that if you spend some time with me.
Do you truly believe real estate's the best investment?
Well, for me, yeah. I mean, listen, I love businesses as well. Okay. I mean, I bought 1,400 units in the last 18 months with my students. And I love business. I love talking business. We could talk every aspect of business. I mean, we've implemented the EOS system from the book Traction here, Mike Business, and I can talk about that. Could talk about the Rockefeller habits. Could talk about, you know, sales, marketing, culture, the Kaizen principles. You know, I mean, I love it. But multifamilies is gonna. There's some incredible opportunities coming, Nick. I mean, you know, I hope you know, I'm sure you know this. The proverbial stuff is about to hit the fan. It's going to be opportunities to buy businesses. It's going to be opportunities to buy real estate. Cents on the dollar. Call it ethical opportunism.
So you do believe that real estate's going to dip again too, and it's going to be a good time
it's going to be more than a dip. It's going to be a massive pullback. If you're listening, you have money in the stock market. Big mistake, guys. It's about to crash big. So just you mark my words. You'll see. It's coming. It's definitely coming. Now, it's not something to fear. It's something to be ahead of, get ready for. So, you know, don't fear it. Just with crisis comes opportunity. There's incredible opportunity coming. So get into as much cash as you can and get ready, because it's coming.
Well, I know with the restaurants, what we've been talking about, I was on a meeting the other day with all our managers, and I was saying, you know, we've always focused ahead on expanding as quick as possible. And I said, look, right now we're back in the gym. You know, we're working on procedures. We're training our managers, making sure everything's right. So when this thing's over in the next 2 years or even longer, that's where we come out swinging, come out fighting. And we're going to double the company, triple the company quicker than ever before, because we're going to be ready for it, you know, paying off debt right now and just stacking cash and getting ready to training our people so we can take advantage of the opportunities that come up. But I think you're right too. You know, there's different times in history that really breeds and creates wealth. And I think we're right on the cusp of that right now for generational.
Yeah, there's going to be, there'll be another stimulus package. But after that, after the election, all bets are off, and the stuff's going to hit the fan. And yes, there literally opportunity of a lifetime is coming.
Real quick, if you want to, you gave a couple shout outs, Rod, if you want to give a little bit more where people can find you. And then we'll get into
if you text the word Rod to 41411, you'll get my book on multifamily investing. It's just kind of a tool book, but then you'll be in my ecosystem and you'll get some emails from us and stuff, or just go to my website, rodcleef.com. I got tons of free stuff there, books and videos and articles and you name it. But if you text Rod to 41411, you'll get the book and you'll start to figure out who I am. And that's an easy thing if you're driving, but yeah, thank you.
Cool. And then now it's time to wrap up the equation today to solve Rod's success. This is where I ask you 7 rapid fire questions to solve the equation of your success, Rod. Are you ready?
Yes.
Best seminar or teaching you've ever had?
Tony Robbins.
Ever been to?
Tony Robbins by far.
Favorite item you bought recently under $100?
Under $100. These new Yeti freaking coffee cups that keep your shit hot and cold like nobody's business. It's awesome. Okay.
Love it. Name an idol or hero of yours that you met in person.
Oh gosh, there's so many. Back to Tony probably, but there's so many. I met John Asseroff. I met Sarah Blakely, the billionaire owner of Spanx at a mastermind. And she told me her dad used to ask her every day, what have you failed at today? Is that an awesome question and not fear failure? Yes. Anyway, we'll leave it at that.
I think I know the answer to this one. Favorite book to give as a gift?
Yeah, Think and Grow Rich for sure. Anything by Tony for sure. Anything by Kiyosaki about real estate for sure. I give my love language, Five Love Languages, fantastic book. My love language is gifts. So I give lots of gifts to my students. So I could keep rattling books if you like. But
something you do every morning before you brush your teeth?
I pee. I drink a lot of water. Actually, that's what I do. But I brush. Actually, first thing I do is brush my teeth. So there's really nothing I do before I brush my teeth. But I do a gratitude thing like you talk about every morning. I'll sit and I'm grateful for the things in my life, my beautiful wife, my coaching students, my foundation. And then I do gratitude for the things that I want as if I already have them. And sometimes I'll get emotional thinking about things that I want that I don't even have yet. And it's because it freaking works. I know I lost a few more you analytical ones, but it freaking works. And then I do a declaration like you do, Nick. I say it's going to be a freaking awesome day. And it almost always is.
Your personal mantra or favorite quote?
Live with passion from Tony.
And the last one, place you go to decompress and reset.
My backyard. You can see it behind me here. It's spectacular. It's very relaxing.
Rod, thanks so much for being on the show today.
Brother.
Really appreciate our conversation.
All right, man.
Thank you for your time.
All right. Take care, guys. See you later.